Hello traders, FXPIPCOLLECTOR here. Today is Tuesday, June 27th, and welcome to today's CPI, Canadian CPI news event. So thanks for coming. I do appreciate the support. If you have not done so already, definitely like, subscribe to the channel. Makes a huge difference for YouTube, pushing my channel out to new members. So this week, our special event is going to be for the Canadian CPI news event. As you can see, in about 15 minutes, we have Canadian CPI coming out. Definitely a pretty big news event for the Canadian pairs, for sure. Now, as far as CPI, it definitely is not usually as volatile as like the dollar CPI news. So we'll have to see what we actually get out of the news today. So we are going to be looking at Canadian pairs. This is not a normal live stream. We're not going to go look at a bunch of other stuff. We're just going to see if we can figure out what the Canadian pairs are going to do for the news. And we may take a quick look at oil because oil is very correlated. So we may take a quick look at that also. So let's get back to the charts. Let's spend the next 15 minutes seeing if we can figure out what direction the Canadian pairs are most likely to go during the Canadian news. So let's go to this Canadian index that I made here on TradingView, which is an equally weighted index of all the Canadian pairs, as you can see. So yeah, let's see here. So what we should probably do is do our full top-down analysis on this index here. So on the monthly time frame, we definitely have a break of structure to the downside. So we're definitely in a downtrend right now. Probably will at least go down and break those lows, especially since it never broke structure to the upside. So we're definitely in a downtrend. Going down to the weekly, it looks like an uptrend right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then it looks like this is going down pretty sharply. It's a little too steep to be a complete ABC correction, so it kind of looks like it needs to make a pattern like this before it actually ends up going back up. So let's take it down to the daily time frame. So daily time frame, this is where we got to start seeing if we can figure this out. So it definitely looks like a downtrend, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves down. It may only be a wave A, honestly. I think that the most likely thing to happen is that it would go up and make a wave B, and then it would probably end up going down to make a wave C. So if this does end up going up to make a wave B, then that means all these Canadian pairs, except for the last two, would end up going up, and then the Canadian yen and the Canadian Swiss would probably end up going down. So we're going to have to take a look and see if that makes sense on those pairs or not. So let's go down to the 4-hour time frame. So now we're trying to figure out, we definitely got one trend pretty much the whole way down right here. It's probably a 1, probably like a 2 right here, and then this is all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of 3. This is most likely an ABC of 4, and then this last push down does look to me like a wave 5. So I'm starting to think that today's news is probably going to cause this to go up. It's probably going to break structure, proving this last move is over, and then probably over the next week or two, it may end up going up and eventually taking out this structure, making a wave A, probably eventually making a wave B, and then back up for a C. Most likely it's going to be a correction to this whole move down. So let's go down to the 1-hour time frame. So 1-hour time frame, we've already been moving pretty strong for the past 3 hours on the Canadian pairs. It has broken structure, but it definitely has not closed above structure yet. So we really can't even say for sure that this move down is over. It kind of seems to me like the most likely thing to happen at the news today is it's going to start making its way up. So if that's the case, then we need to check out all these other US dollar Canadian pairs, that is, and see if that does make sense on the rest of the Canadian pairs. So let's do that now. Let's go down to the US dollar Canadian. Let's head up to the daily time frame. US dollar Canadian definitely looks like it's in a downtrend. Now this possibly could be a 1, 2, 3, or it possibly could be an ABC. If it is an ABC, then we should be able to know it's an ABC by seeing a structure break, seeing a corrective down, and very impulsive moves to the upside. If it's actually a wave 3, then it still may end up going up, but instead of making an impulsive uptrend, it's going to make a corrective move and then eventually head up back down for like a 1 of 3, a 2 of 3, and a wave 3 of 3. So we have to definitely kind of investigate and see what the most likely thing to happen with this is. Let's head down to the 4-hour time frame. 4-hour time frame, it's almost a mirror image of that index we were just looking at. it really hasn't broken any structure to the upside yet, so the trend is definitely still down on the higher time frames, like the 4-hour time frame and up. Going down to the shorter time frames, we do have a break of structure on this one, which should tell us that this whole move down is over. Now, either it's going to do this and then continue down again, making another lower high, or it's going to go up and break structure, proving that this whole move is over, and at that point it's probably going to be a pretty good size uptrend for either a wave A or maybe a wave 1. So that's definitely makes sense on that one. The Canadian, we had the pound Canadian. Does it make sense for this to now be making a big move to the upside? Let's see. We're definitely in a downtrend on this one too, and we definitely haven't broken any structure to the upside. So the trend is definitely still down on the 4-hour. Going down to the shorter time frames, ooh, that kind of looks like it's almost an ABC correction right there. So we have to be a little careful. That one is kind of giving us a little bit of a mixed signal. That looks like an ABC up, especially with the higher low. So that actually tells us that it may keep going down. Does the Canadian dollar have that higher low, or does it look like it could be a wave B? It definitely does have 3 waves down right there, so that definitely could be an ABC. So that would kind of make sense then, if it did just keep on going down. Let's see if the other pairs agree with that. Oh wow, the Euro Canadian. Now the Euro has definitely been moving today. It's very strong right now. It does look like it could be an A, and it definitely looks like 3 waves down for a B, and it definitely looks like this could be a wave C. So now, after we've been looking at a few of these Canadian pairs, we're starting to change our mind a little bit, thinking that it may just keep going down. So good thing that we have correlated pairs to help us out. So the Aussie, obviously the Aussie has been driving this one quite a bit, but if the other ones go down, then this one would also go down. It kind of looks like it could be an ABC right there, and it may have already turned down, so that would kind of make sense. The Kiwi Canadian is kind of going up right now, but it definitely has a 1, 2, 3-way pattern, so maybe this is going to be an ABC. Like I said, now that we've been looking at a couple of these correlated pairs now, I'm starting to think that down is the direction. Let's see if the Canadian yen is ready to go up. Yeah, not really. It definitely made 3 waves up right here, which this morning I was looking at this thinking that maybe this is an ABC. It doesn't really have time to finish a wave C, but it could definitely make a higher low for the wave C, like an irregular wave C, and end up continuing the uptrend from there. So that would kind of make sense, I guess, if that one did go up. And this one would have to go up also if the Canadian, if this goes down, then this one would have to go up. So it's definitely been moving pretty strong this morning. Let's see what this looks like on a little bit of a longer time frame. Yeah, so that kind of looks like it's like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That kind of looks like it's ready to go down, honestly. So we definitely have a little bit of mixed signals here. Let's see what this looks like on the higher time frames. It definitely looks like it should be ready for a correction. But even if it does make a correction, I think it's just going to be like a 3, 4, 5. So it will end up going up again, I would say. Would it make sense for this to go up? We are at that 61.8, so maybe the daily time frame is telling us that this is finally going to end at wave A, 3 waves up for a wave B, and then a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of C. That would actually make a lot of sense if this just kept on going up. So usually what I do is by the time I shuffle through these things twice, is usually by then we will have a pretty good idea of what is actually going to happen. That is a very strong move to the downside right here, but that is probably because of the Canadian. And we are at the 78.6, so it would make a lot of sense if this did make a move to the upside. Euro Canadian, kind of looks like we have a trend, and now we need to go up and make a wave B, and then maybe later on go down for a C. So that would make a sense if this one went up also, on the daily that is. Pound Canadian, yeah, I think that kind of looks like a trend. That could be a wave A. This could be 3 waves up for a B. We may already be in a wave C. So I guess it would definitely make sense for that one to continue up also. And this one we already know that it looks like a trend, and it definitely looks like a trend that could be very close to ending, even though I think this move up would most likely be a correction to the move down. So it definitely looks like it's very close to ending a trend. So let's go back to that dollar index and see if that does make sense or not for the dollar index. So would it make sense for this to be a wave A, and then it starts making its way up to make a wave B, and then it goes down later on to make a wave C, and then eventually it continues the uptrend? That does seem like it makes a lot of sense. So the daily time frame is giving us different signals than the 1 hour, which I am always more inclined to believe the daily time frame and the higher time frames. So I'm starting to think that the news has already played into the market. Like I said, the last 3 hours the market's already been moving. It may just keep on trending up and make a pretty good size wave A, maybe something like that over the next 24 hours or so. That definitely would make a lot of sense. Let's go down to the US dollar Canadian. Yeah, especially with the fact that we broke structure right there. I definitely do see that that could be an ABC right there, but with the fact that we broke structure, it seems like it's more likely to go up. So that would actually make more sense for it to go up. This one is the one that makes me think it's going to go down just because of that three-wave shape, but honestly, it probably is going to go up also. The Euro Canadian has already been going up, but a lot of that is caused by the Euro. The Euro is pretty strong today. But it definitely looks like 1 up, 3 down, and then 1 up. So that could be a little bit of a tricky one. I could kind of picture this being like a 4 or 5, and then this is like a 1, that's an ABC of 2, and now we're in a wave 3, which is not over yet. So I guess that would make sense for that one to go up also. The Aussie Canadian, now the Aussie has been so weak to the downside, I definitely wouldn't choose this one to go long on. Let's go down to a little bit of a sort of time frame, see what kind of structure we have. Yeah, that one's not really that clear. It's definitely an uptrend. And this looks like a downtrend. It kind of looks like 3 waves up, so this one's kind of telling us that it's more likely to go down. But we kind of got to ignore that a little bit, I think, because of the Aussie. The Aussie's been so weak, a lot of that pattern is probably because of the Aussie. The Kiwi, I think if this goes up and it takes out this structure, it'll prove that this really is a wave 5 of wave C, and most likely that would be the end of a crescent and the continuation of the uptrend. And the Canadian yen is going down, but it definitely could pop back up. The Canadian Swiss is going down also. Is the yen pair moving today? Is that why? Yeah, the yen pairs are definitely going down a little bit, so that's probably why the US dollar Canadian is going down. Ooh, it'd make a lot of sense for this to go back up. That looks like an ABC correction to the uptrend. So I think it'd make a lot of sense for this to go up and maybe even finally break out of this triangle that we got going on. Looks like a barrier triangle because it has a flat bottom and a slanted top. So it would make a lot of sense for this to go up. Even if it is going to go down again, it would maybe go up and retouch this level up here. So it would make a lot of sense for oil to make a move to the upside. So after all that, we got a little bit of mixed reaction, but I'm starting to think that most likely the US dollar Canadian probably is going to make a move to the upside. It seems most likely. I usually don't trade Canadian news because a lot of times, from my experience, what happens with Canadian news is it'll move really fast, and then within the next half an hour it'll come all the way back to the starting line, and then it'll do almost nothing for the rest of the day. Definitely not always, but a lot of the times it definitely does do that. So we have about 40 seconds until the news comes out. As you can see, we got Canadian CPI month over month. And we got all these other CPIs, trim CPI, common CPI, medium CPI. We also got durable goods for the dollar and durable goods for month over month for the dollar. So the dollar may end up making a little bit of a move also. But right now the Canadian is definitely the star of the show. Yeah, we're looking at Canadian pairs because we have Canadian news coming out in about 10 seconds. I'm thinking the US dollar Canadian probably is going to go up, so let's see what happens. Got about 1 second. And there she goes, up she goes. I think we called that pretty good once again. We'll see if it holds or not. Looks pretty good so far. Look at that. Oh, the Euro Canadian, that was the one to get in, definitely. Aussie Canadian, look at it go. Definitely the one to take. Yeah, the Canadian yen going down, Swiss yen going down, All the other Canadian pairs are going up. So I think we called that up pretty much perfectly. We've been doing pretty good with these news events the last couple of weeks. Hopefully these live streams that I do during these news events are definitely helping some people out. I think it's a big help to people. Trading news is definitely a little bit on the difficult side, but hopefully everybody can see what it is that I did. I spent the first 15 minutes going over all the Canadian pairs on the shorter time frames. Then I went over all the Canadian pairs a second time on the daily time frame. Then the third time I went back down to the 1 hour time frame, and by the time I looked at everything 3 times, we came to the conclusion that the US dollar Canadian was going to go up. And as you can see, the US dollar Canadian is definitely going up. So usually, more times than not, we can figure out what the news is going to cause pairs to do. Because if we had US dollar news, we'd be looking at US dollar pairs. We do have a little bit of US dollar news, so let's see what's happening with that. Let's go up to a little bit of a longer time frame. I still think we're in a wave B. I'm not really convinced that the wave B is over. Actually, no, that's not right, because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So yeah, that's probably going to go up. I think this is going up for a wave C, which means that this is probably going to go down. The euro is very strong. I don't think I would choose this one to go short on. Yeah, we're really focused on the Canadian pairs today. We're going to look at the dollar pairs real quickly, but definitely our main focus, it has to be the Canadian pairs. I think that this is more likely to go down. I think the Aussie's probably going to try to make a move down, but the Aussie and the Canadian are very correlated, so that could try to do something different. But down definitely seems like the direction. So what's going on? Is it still going up? Yeah, it's still going up. Kiwi Canadian kind of looks to me like it's maybe already ended a crutch, and this move up is probably going to be a crutch into the move down. It probably is going to go down. US dollar Canadian, we already came to the conclusion that this is going up. We had a break of structure. It probably will end up continuing the uptrend. US dollar Swiss, I bet is going to start making its way up to make that wave C, just like I was looking at earlier. And the US dollar yen is probably going down because of the yen, yeah. And that looks like 3 waves up to me, 1, 2, 3. So this is probably actually going to be a wave C. Probably an A, probably a B, and most likely a wave C. Impulsive move up, break of structure should be the continuation of the uptrend. But right now it looks like it's going down. Oh, this is probably going to go up. It still could be a wave 4. I still think that this is very likely to be an A, a B, and a C of 4, and then back down for a wave 5. But sometimes we don't get that wave 5 on a wave C. So we definitely have to be careful of that. And just like I said, pretty much exactly like I said, what happens at the Canadian news is you'll get a big move, and then it'll be a big pullback, and then half the times it just kind of drifts around for the rest of the day and doesn't really do much. We'll see if that is the case today or not. If you were able to get in before the news, you probably are in a very, very profitable trade. I definitely don't think I would try to get in now. It probably is going to make a pullback and probably just kind of drift around for the rest of the day. So let's see if oil ended up making a move. That's very correlated with the Canadian pairs. I think oil is going to end a correction. I think this is an A. I think this is a B, and I think this is a C. I think it's going to go up, take out structure, and end up continuing back up. Whether it turns out to be an A, B, C and go back down, or whether it turns out to be a 1, 2, 3 and keep going up, I guess we're just going to have to watch and see. So, yeah. I think things turned out pretty good for the Canadian news. This live stream was just a short live stream for the Canadian news. We're not going to be like a normal live stream where I look at all yen pairs, all dollar pairs, Bitcoin and all those other things. We're just going to really focus on the Canadian pairs. We had a little bit of dollar news, which is why I checked the dollar, but really there's not much going on with the dollar. It's really all about the Canadian pairs today. I think this is going up for a wave A or possibly a wave 1. We don't really know for sure. Most likely this is going to go up too. We'll have to see if this right here, it kind of looks like it should be an A, B, C, a B, and then go back down and then back up. So we'll see if that's what it turns out to be or not. Euro Canadian I think would have been a best choice because first of all we got 3 waves down. That's very, very clearly an ABC correction, so I think this would probably have been the best choice to trade during the news. I think that's definitely going up. Aussie Canadian, been in a very strong move to the downside. I definitely would not have chosen this one to go long on, but it probably is going to go up also. And if this really is a wave C, it might not even be. It might just keep on trending up. Maybe do something like this and just keep on working its way up. And the Kiwi Canadian also, I'm not really sure if I would have chose this one either. I would like to see this structure break. If that structure right there breaks, that's probably the end of a wave C on the daily time frame. And the Canadian yen is making a move down, but it probably is a wave C. I think it's an A. I think this is a B, and I think we're going down for a C, and then probably back up. And the Swiss is definitely making a move down also. Let's see, what does that one look like? That one kind of looks like it could be part of a correction too, like this is an A, B, C, and then back up again, especially because this over here looks like a wave 5, so which means it probably is going to eventually go up and break this structure right here. So right now everything looks like it's in track, everything's going as planned. Let's see the US dollar pairs one more time, see if it is doing that as we expected. We'll see. It looks like it wants to go down a little bit. We'll see if it holds. We got a break of structure, so it seems like this move down would make a higher low and it would go back up, but we'll see how it actually ends up turning out. That dollar news is definitely not that big of a news event, but this consumer confidence later is a big dollar news event. So actually what's probably going to happen is it's probably going to go down and make a stop hunt. And then that consumer confidence news later on is probably when it's really going to end this wave B and go up to make a wave C. So we're probably in a stop hunt right now, I bet. But I don't know, that euro is very strong. I may just keep on going up like I was explaining in my group earlier on. So every single morning I do a members forecast for my Patreon members, and I do a short video for my Patreon members, about 20 minutes, about what direction I'm trading on all the dollar pairs, all the yen pairs, including gold, oil, and natural gas. If anybody is interested in that, you can definitely join my Patreon membership. And it also comes with a trading course with 38 videos, over 7.5 hours of content to help you get started on the right path. So if anybody's interested in that, definitely join. The link in the description or in the chats. Or if you would just like to join my free Discord group, which is 100% free to join, no obligations to pay a dime if you do not want to. The link for that is also in the chats and in the description. And it is 100% free to join, no obligations to pay a penny at all. Now, today's live stream was just to look at the dollar pairs and to look at the yen pairs. The Kiwi dollar is definitely going up right now. It doesn't look like it's broken any structure to the downside, so it's definitely still going up. Today we're just focused on the Canadian pairs. That's pretty much the only thing we really care about right now because of the Canadian news that we had. Later on we're going to have that consumer confidence at 3 p.m. UK time, so that's probably when we need to be paying attention to the dollar pairs, is around that time right there. So today we were just looking at the Canadian pairs. We called it almost perfectly once again, as you can see. Oh, but it looks like it's doing a little bit of a stop hunt, so wow, it probably is going to be a correction, I bet. But I bet it's going to end up doing something like that. But we definitely called the news almost perfectly today. I told you that it was going to go up, but I also said the move up was probably going to be short-lived and that it was probably going to go down. Now what's probably going to happen is it's going to make a correction and then end up looking something like that, I would imagine. So I hope everybody enjoys the rest of the day. As usual, happy trading as always. This was just a quick 20-minute, 30-minute live stream to go over the Canadian pairs for the news. Once again, we called the Canadian pairs pretty much perfectly, so everything's going as planned. I hope everybody enjoys the rest of the day as always. Tomorrow is my normal live stream where I will go over all the dollar pairs, all the yen pairs, and everything else. So as usual, happy trading and good luck to everybody.